Is it in
running? Yes.
Okay, a lot continued to change during 2020 because of the pandemic, and then the protests have broken out all over the country and even the world after Derek Chauvin, a Minneapolis police officer, killed George Floyd while his fascist buddies watched him do that, and not to do a fucking thing until it was too late. I hate to give trigger warnings, but not everything I'm going to say about this is going to be PC. It's those social justice warrior PC fucks who are in part responsible for creating this mess in the first place. And don't get me wrong, I despise Trump, but not everyone who voted for him was a racist. They voted for him, especially in the Rust Belt states, after Obama did very little to improve the economic situation for poor white people and poor black people. And Hillary was really kind of just a corrupt fucking cunt. She wasn't going to do anything. When she was campaigning, she said she wasn't going to do a fucking thing to make people's lives better. So why do you think people didn't vote for her? Trump said the forgotten man will never be forgotten again. So they I guess he called spin the dice. They took a flip. They wanted to take a chance on Trump. But of course it turns out that Trump was full of shit. I used to live only one block where George Floyd was murdered by that brutal asshole, but I used to live on Elliott Avenue, and I moved into that neighborhood on July 13, 1994 from Florida, and it was a big change from where I had lived in Florida because Florida is a fucking cesspool of shit. And not only that, the weather is too fucking hot there. The guy I moved in with turned out to be a fucking prick, and you remember me talking about that.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother topic. I didn't feel very accepted for most people in that neighborhood, but I didn't feel very accepted most places that I go. I was hoping that because it was a more liberal area, quote unquote, things would be better, but they really weren't. Most of the problems I had was when I worked at that convenience store in that area, as the customers were so oversensitive and tried to get me in trouble for every little fucking thing. I talked about this before, but while I was working at that store on August 1, 1994, when I was ringing up this woman who was buying kaopectate because she spent the whole night shitting out diarrhea. And that was on the first day of August 1994, when I had only been living in Minnesota for less than 3 weeks, and I was working at a store that I was misfortunate enough to be on that fucking register, and I hate dealing with customers that I hate so fucking much. When I was ringing up this old lady who was buying kaopectate because she was shitting out diarrhea, and she mentioned that she drank 4 bottles of kaopectate the night before, and she kept going on and on about talking about her diarrhea in front of all the customers. And she kept going on and on about how she spent the whole night shitting out diarrhea. But she took having diarrhea very seriously. As soon as I was done ringing up, a friend approached me who was this oversensitive, uptight, snowflake piece of fucking shit fucking cunt. And she tells me I was being very disrespectful to her friend. And she was going to tell the manager on me. I told her that I didn't say anything. She told me that I had a grin on my face. A thought crime. She asked the person in the office, who was the bookkeeper, how to contact the manager, but he wasn't in, but the bookkeeper, Kathy, and she tells Kathy about how I was being so disrespectful to her friend, and she was going to tell the manager, and Kathy said, "Please do." Isn't that a lovely thing to say? I could have lost my job and ended up homeless for having a grin on my face, all because of that oversensitive snowflake piece of shit fucking cunt. Please do. Can you imagine what it would be like to have such an uptight piece of fucking shit, no pun intended because of the diarrhea, with no sense of humor like that for a friend? Wouldn't that be fun? How can people like that stand each other? Having an uptight snowflake like that for a friend without having any cool people as a friend is a fate worse than death. It's even a fate worse than having diarrhea. Not a single customer said a word back on August 1, 1994, when she was going on and on about how she drank 4 bottles of kaopectate while she was shitting out diarrhea. I knew someone who lived in New York And if she was in New York and she kept talking about going on and on about her diarrhea in front of the customers, this person told me that people would have said something there. But I wonder what they would say. This is an example that there were plenty of oversensitive snowflakes, even back in 1994. But people being oversensitive snowflakes goes all the way back to the days of ancient Babylon. And considering that both of those uptight fucking cunts were old back in 1994, I am willing to bet that both of them have since croaked since then. That means that they got sent up to the big place for oversensitive snowflakes up in the sky. And not only that, they have diarrhea. Well, what happens to moisture that's in the rain? In the sky, I mean, it's called rain. They should sing a song about all the serious and big, and they should, oh fuck, I lost my place. And they should sing a song about all the serious and uptight people who have diarrhea and have croaked. And they got sent to that big diarrhea in the sky. And they should call it Skyarrhea.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Better yet, they should sing a song about it. Called "It's a Raining Men Who Have Diarrhea, Hallelujah." Which reminds me, I should have practiced that song a little better. I would have done that a little better. But it reminds me, there was a day when I was working at that store, and I noticed that there was a strong smell of piss. And I noticed this woman had yellow stains on her white pants. I think she was homeless. The smell of her piss was so strong. I really enjoyed talking about things like that other people just won't talk about. Now, I moved out of that neighborhood on near 38th Street in Chicago Avenue on November 8, 1997, not because of the neighborhood, but because that guy who I was living with was such a fucking prick. I couldn't stand it anymore. He decided to raise my rent in the middle of a lease, which he can't legally do, but he was an authoritarian piece of shit. He threw a fucking tantrum, and he started threatening me. He was a real fucking asshole. I moved to Uptown near Lake Street, and then the neighborhood got yuppified, but I still felt more accepted in that neighborhood. Like, people didn't give a fuck about me, but they didn't seem to judge me either. And at least I didn't get judged by a bunch of fucking assholes like the other places that I lived, especially in Florida. A bunch of uptight fucking conformist pieces of shit. Well, that's Florida that has a bunch of uptight conformist pieces of shit and mediocre assholes. And in the Lake and Lindale neighborhood, I was able to do my own thing, be myself, and people left me the fuck alone. There were a couple of times I was walking down the street when a Murderopolis pig was driving down the street, and they shined their lights on me, but then after that they left me alone. Even though that guy who I moved in on Elliott Avenue turned out to be such a fucking prick, I asked him where the grocery stores are, and the nearest grocery stores were Cub Foods and Rainbow Foods, which were located in Minnehaha and Lake Street, two of the major grocery stores that were trashed during the riots, and that Rainbow closed. And then it took years before they got another store in there, and Aldi then was the store that was built there, but they trashed everything there, and also shopped at the Target there, and the Dollar Tree store, and in that shopping center as well, and they burned down the Hexagon Bar. Even George Floyd's brother said, "What is this going to solve?" Burning down businesses that are needed in your community fucks over those who live in that community. There were 3 grocery stores in that neighborhood. There were 0 for a while, but I think they rebuilt all of them. They rebuilt Cub, and I think they rebuilt Aldi. I think they definitely rebuilt Target. I suspect that these riots were an inside job, thanks to the pandemic, and the collapse of the economy caused things to be a tinderbox that would be inflamed, and what happened to George Floyd is what triggered it off, set it off. It's been decades of cops being such corrupt, evil, authoritarian fucking scum. Now, another thing that I have heard is a group of anarchists have taken over a 6-block area of Seattle, and they decided to form their own nation. The governor of Washington and the mayor of Seattle were refusing to do anything about it for a while, but then they removed them. These so-called anarchists were armed and are being selective on who they are letting in, and they are also beating the shit out of reporters. This sounds like social justice warrior fucking scum taking over, and anarchy is supposed to be about freedom, not allowing another authoritarian piece of shit coming to take away my freedom. These people could even be much more horrible than the system that we have now. I'm smart enough not to take anything I say at face value, and things have gotten to the point that I trust no one. The situation in Seattle might be nothing more than made-up right-wing propaganda, because I don't know the whole story. Since then, the National Guard came in and removed the so-called anarchists from Seattle. I want a revolution, but not if it's run by another group of authoritarian fucking goons. I guess that there are a few good things that have come out of this. I have some good news. I found out that the TV show Cops have been canceled, and I clapped my hands for over where am I? I clapped my hands for 2 minutes. What's the time at?
10:45.
I clapped my hands for 2 minutes when I heard that, and I don't do that very often. Of course, that propaganda fucking bullshit will probably still be on a rerun on fucking Fortune. Now, if we can only get Law and Order taken off the air, I would like to see the end of all this propaganda. There's something really horrible about Law and Order, which you know what that is, but I'm not going to go into it. There is nothing new about the fascist police destroying people's lives and the drug war and beating the shit out of and murdering people for no reason. In 1968, the world was watching, but 53 it is 53 years later, and some things never change, but it looks more and more like the revolution will not be televised. If this shit is still going on in 53 years from now, I would rather see a nuclear war and see humanity end. I won't forget the New Year's Eve party I went to just right after 2020 began, and I was at a place that had a couple of bands and that played some interesting music, and just right after 2020 began, a person said, "I know that we are all scared now." No shit, that was before the fucking pandemic. The politicians are not going to change things. We are going to have to come together and do it ourselves. Was he some kind of prophet? Did he know something that we didn't? Then came the pandemic, the economy turning to shit, and the riots. That guy is right. We are going to have to do it ourselves, but as long as people on the right, the left, and even the middle of the road continue to be the divided little snowflakes that they are and thin-skinned little bitches, things will not only not change, but they'll likely continue to get worse and worse, which is known as divide and conquer. When people fight amongst themselves, the police state wins. Will people ever learn? How much time is left?
We're at 12:35.
Okay, we got about 2 minutes. Keep an eye on the time.
All right.
And what was I going to go into, and now I forgot.
Is this finished?
Yes.
Okay, this was really good. And of course, I loved all the things about shitting out diarrhea. That is so funny. Yeah. God, what were you supposed to do? Frown and say, "Don't talk to me about shitting out diarrhea. That's immature and disgusting."
Yeah, what if I had that reaction?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure the other people did not enjoy her going on about the other customers did not enjoy it.
Don't be too sure. If they had a scat fetish, you bet they'd enjoy it. They'd be like, "Woo, woo, woo."
If they were old, I don't know if anyone would be attracted.
You never know. You never know. Yeah, there could have been some guy that had a stiffy when she talked about shitting out diarrhea. Although I'm pretty sure she was an old ugly fuck.
Keep an eye on the time.
13:39.
Okay, less than a minute.
Okay.
40 seconds.
Okay. Very good. So I'll stop it before the 15. No worries. Yeah. So yeah, that was quite good, and I'm glad you got out of that neighborhood where that landlord of yours was a money grubbing, greedy fucking asshole, prick, douchebag, son of a bitch.
He said that he hates big government because they're fascist.
Yeah, he should
so
talk.
He wants to form his own fascist government.
All right, it's like 14:20, so let me stop that, I guess.
Yeah, I wish we could go on and talking about things, but
I know, but we can't. All right, I'm going to stop it.